Welcome to another episode of The Becoming Show. Today is part two of the money mastery formula that I was sharing last Monday. And I do apologize. Last Monday at the I think the 1 hour mark, I got disconnected with the live streaming and I didn't even know it. So I was talking for like another half hour all to myself. So I apologize about that. But I know that when we stopped last week, we identified that when it comes to the percentage of return that the banks advertise on their brochures and their pamphlets, that number is, it's, how should I put this so that I don't get into trouble? That number is manipulated because it's not the real number when it comes to your growth all these years. Okay, so let me just review that quick part before I jump into today's lesson or sharing. So I gave an example of if within 2 years, let's say the first year you lost 50%, so you started with $100. And then at the end of the year, you lost 50%. So now you're down to $50 in your investment account. And then the following year, the year number two, things did really well and it doubled up. So now that $50 now becomes $100 back to before, it went down. However, in terms of the rate of return, the second year is considered 100% return because you doubled it. But so when the bank does the calculation, it would say the first year it went down 50%, minus 50. And then the second year it went up 100%, plus 100. So therefore, the average of these 2 years now becomes 25% plus. So that's what they would report on the rate of return in the past 2 years, plus 25%. But the problem is, if you look at your bank account or your investment account, it actually shows still $100. So you didn't gain 25% at all. You gained 0%. However, on the brochures, on the pamphlets, on the reports that they do, they can legally count that as a 25% rate of return over 2 years. So that's why in this game of wealth building, in this game of investments, if you do not understand the rules of the game, if you fall prey to whatever people advertise, then you would have believed them and you would have invested in that if you didn't know better. So that's why this course or this series of shares of episodes that I want to share every Monday is to help you understand the rules of the wealth, the rules of the wealthy, the rules of how to actually play the game of money. And so today we're going to dive into the next steps, which is tax minimization and also asset and income protection. So I'm going to combine these two topics into one talk today. And the purpose of these sharings is not to give you all the details, because here's the truth. If you want all the details, you need more hands-on, you need more research, you need more, what do we call it? Like a place where you can actually ask questions and feedback, because everyone's financial situation is very different and your goals are very different. So for me to tell you what you should do is very, it's kind of like going to a doctor and the doctor doesn't know anything about the patients and the doctor just gives you a prescription. That is illegal. Same thing with any kind of financial advisor or accountant or mentor. And by the way, I'm not working as an accountant right now. I work as a coach, a business consultant, and I'm not a financial advisor. However, I know enough to help you to find the right information, to find the right accountant, the right financial advisor for you. And because I'm giving you a framework to find out what you need and what you want. And then from there, you're going to build your fortune. And you're going to work with the right type of people, with the right type of professionals that are good for you, that are a good fit for you, because there's many types out there. Okay, so when it comes to tax, okay, let me back up a little bit. And I'm not sure if I shared this last, no, I don't think I shared this last week yet. But when it comes to building wealth, there's 5 enemies and there are 5 friends, or we call it 5 foes and 5 friends. Okay, so the first enemy is risk. You don't want to invest into anything that gives you a lot of risk, because seriously, we don't need that. We don't need we don't need the exposure to risk if you just want to build wealth consistently over time. Because Albert Einstein said that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, and it's way more than that. But it does take consistency. It does take a system, a formula. And we're going to go through some of these systems. And then there's a fast way to build wealth, and then there's the slow way. And there's nothing wrong with either way. The fast way requires some work, and also it depends on your risk level. If you don't want to build a business, then the fast way is not for you. However, you can still take more risk, or if you have more savings up front, then you can still go the faster way. However, anyone can become a millionaire if you actually do what is very easy to do year after year, month after month. The challenge is people don't want to do that. The challenge is people forget that their retirement is 40 years away, 35 years away. And so they feel like they have lots of time. But the reality is, if you're building wealth the slow way, and we're going to cover both ways, the slow and the fast way, then you got to do something different. And there's a price to pay for slow or fast. There's a price to pay. And the price is not just money or effort. It's your knowledge. It's your ability to save money. It's your ability to be disciplined about all your investment strategies and all that. So the 5 enemies of wealth, the first one is risk. We don't want that. Okay. The second one is tax. We want to pay as little tax as possible within the legal means that is allowed by our government. And the third type of enemy is fees. And by fees, I mean management ratio, MER, management expense ratios. Like when you put your investments into the banks or any types of companies that does all the management for you, they always charge a fee, and it's called MER, management expense ratio. And typically that fee is about minimum 2.5 to 5%, depending on who you're working with. Most of the big banks, the 5 big banks, they charge between 2.5 to 3.5%. That is most, okay? And I would say towards the higher percentage. And then some who are charging a bit more than that. However, if you had understand some of the strategies in this training, which I'll share next week, you can invest into things that you only have to pay 0.5%. And that is actually so safe, so much better than the managed portfolios in terms of all history combined. So, and all the rich. And I'm going to also give you a few books to read. I highly recommend books to read so that you can actually do some research on this on your own. And nowadays, especially with all the AI tools, ChatGPT and Claude, you can research so much more than just blindly give away your money to the banks to invest for you. I remember one of the things that I love when I first started investing, and the reason why I started to investing on my own was because initially I did what was taught, what was advertised everywhere, and I was brainwashed with it, is that to save money and put it into an RRSP, and in the US, that's equivalent to the 401k program. In Canada, it's called RSP. And I've been taught to be responsible and put my money away. So I saved all I could. And I did save a lot of money within, I believe, within 2, 3 years of working. When I first graduated, I remember I had about 75,000 in savings in RSP. And that $75,000 in savings, when 2000 hits, or the first crash hit, that 75,000 became 30,000. Half was gone. And I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. If I'm going to give my money to someone else to lose for me, then I would rather lose it myself. I would rather take control of how I invest my money. And if I lose it, at least I feel like I did it. At least I feel like I was responsible for it. But in this case, I gave my money to someone else to invest for me, and they lost it for me. So I had no say in what to do. So that's why I decided since that year that I'm going to take matters into my own hands and invest myself. So that's why I went all in real estate. And that was a great decision. However, I made mistakes along the way. But if I had gone conservative, if I had gone the way that people can lose money, where the first enemy of wealth is risk, if I didn't go that route, if I had protected myself from risk, I would have been retired long time ago by when I was 35. So fees is the third enemy of wealth. And then the fourth enemy of wealth is inflation. Inflation is an enemy if you don't use leverage, if you don't use your money to buy assets that keeps growing due to inflation, that you don't keep leveraging to borrow money and have that amount fixed, but everything else keeps growing in money due to inflation. So inflation is good and bad depending on how you use it. But for most people who don't know how to invest, inflation is a big enemy because they don't know how to leverage, they don't know how to buy assets to build their wealth where those assets keep growing with inflation. And the fifth enemy is ignorance. Oh my gosh. I know there's a saying, ignorance is bliss. And it is true sometimes. Ignorance is bliss. It is true sometimes. But when it comes to wealth building, ignorance is expensive. It's not bliss at all. So I highly recommend that aside from listening to what I'm about to share the next few weeks, every Mondays, but please do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, protect those you love, and read 3 money books, okay? The first book is called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That will give you a good foundation. The second book is called The Game of Money by so the first book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is by Robert Kiyosaki. The second book, The Game of Money, is by Tony Robbins. Those 2 books give you a pretty good foundation. And then the third book I'm going to give you more, options, because I want you to expand beyond just money. I want you to expand beyond just how to build money with your own money. But the third book, I want you to think about, what do you feel is best for you? Do you want to start a business, whether it's a real brick and mortar business or whether you want to build an online business? So read a book on how to build a business, because a business is a pretty powerful asset for you to build. Because when it comes to building a business, this is where you can retire in 3 years or less. Versus if you were to build your wealth, building like a golden goose, it'll take 30, 45 years. And both ways are not right or wrong. Both ways are great, depending on your personality, depending on who you are, and depending on what kind of risk level are you. So the third book, I want you to just go with what you feel is aligned with you the most. Whether starting a business, and some people, they are not fit to build a business. So if that's you, don't read into a business book. Another type of wealth building is real estate. Okay. And if you really want to build real estate, to use real estate as a wealth strategy, then I highly recommend you to read a book on real estate. Okay. And just Google best book on real estate, because honestly, there is so many options. So I would prefer that you pick a book that you feel it calls to you than for me to tell you what books to read, because I'm very different from you. So that's why I want the third book to be of your choosing, to be of your choice. And then, of course, there's other books on wealth building as well. So just Google on a topic of wealth building and see, and especially now with AI, I highly recommend you, please, please, please explore AI, because that is another quick path to building wealth. And by quick, I mean couple of years, not like cheating people and the quick the scheme of quick scheme of building wealth. I'm not talking about that. That is not part of this equation. I'm talking about 3 years building something with an AI, either an AI tool, an AI app, or creating some type of service using AI. And all of this can be, in terms of it used to take a team and millions of dollars to build an app, or a team and millions of dollars to build some kind of a a computer or a software. But now with AI, anyone can code, and that's why we call it vibe coding, meaning you can just talk what you want. You can just tell AI what you want to build as an app, and the AI will build it for you. And of course, you're gonna have to learn to do that. How to do that? It's not. It's almost like if you want to learn English, you have to learn the alphabets, ABCD, and you have to learn how to speak English and all that. Just like everything. But the thing is, there's a system, there's a formula to learn it. And so if this is something that you want to do, please explore. Okay, please use AI to give you what's best for you. The third book. So read 3 books on wealth building. So that is the 5 enemies of wealth. Now the 5 friends of wealth is growth. And by growth, I mean money multiplying, or your assets multiplying and have babies. That's called money making money, the growth aspect. The second friend is tax advantage. And by tax advantage, I mean, instead of being taxed with all your income, and we all pay tax, and that's normal, because that's how we receive all these beautiful parks, education, healthcare, and social support, and all that stuff. So tax is definitely part of our life. However, because the government wants to reward us for doing things that they want us to do. For example, starting a business. For example, investing in real estate to provide housing for other people, for tenants, for those who can't afford it. For example, investing into the types of investments that the government is trying to get more money to invest in. So, for example, there are times when it's oil explorations. There are times when it was green cars, solar roofs, and all those types of businesses. They get humongous tax breaks because the government wants to support these types of growth. And so therefore, if you follow what the government rewards you for investing in, where to put your money in, then you get great tax benefits. So that's why instead of just investing into things that are not tax advantage, now we're going to invest it in things that are more tax advantage because the government rewards it. And also, more importantly, there are strategies that the rich use because it is more tax advantage than those who are not willing to pay for advice, who are not willing to pay for the types of setup, because it costs money to set up these types of tax structures for the best tax advantage, tax savings. And now you're going to require specialists in terms of lawyers, accountants, financial advisors that know what they're doing. And the problem is, if you're not willing to invest in those kinds of professionals, experts to help you, then you're going to be investing in the regular zone where everybody is investing in, where money is just going to grow slowly and not tax deferred or not tax. Well, there's two types. There's tax deferred and then tax exempt. So that's why if you work with the experts, the professionals, and you're going to pay for their services, then you're going to be able to do so much more. I just want to pause for a minute here and talk about some types of how the rich think and how the poor think differently when it comes to expenses. So the poor wants to save money. Now, the poor who wants to grow money or how to grow wealth, they do want to save money. And they want to save money by scrimping, by lowering all the expenses. But the rich knows where to save money and where to spend money. The rich always spends money so that they can grow money. So as long as whatever they spend, they can make a lot more than what they spend. That is considered good investing. That's what the rich do. The poor tends to save money no matter what. So that's why they're not willing to invest in themselves. They're not willing to invest in hiring experts and professionals to help them. And that's the difference. They're going to grow. I mean, if you save money, yes, you can still become rich, but it'll take decades. It'll take 4, 5 decades to do what the rich can do in less than 10 years, less than a decade, because they have experts who can help them. Okay, so just a thought on that. Now, the third type of friend when it comes to building wealth is leverage. Leverage is a great friend, but the problem is leverage is a two-edged sword. Because if you don't know what you're doing, leverage will kill you fast. But if you do know what you're doing, leverage, you're going to grow money, you're going to grow wealth so much faster if you can use leverage to your advantage. So same thing with inflation. If you know how to use inflation to your advantage, then inflation becomes your friend. And same thing with leverage. If you know how to build wealth, if you understand the rules of the game, leverage is a big friend. Only those who don't know what they're doing, and when they want to gamble by doing leverage, that's when they kill themselves much faster. So please understand the rules of the game. The fourth type of friends is liquidity when it comes to wealth building. Now, liquidity is when you invest into something and you're able to sell it very quickly on the market. Real estate is not that great with liquidity, especially if your real estate investment is so expensive that it takes a certain people with a lot of money to be able to buy. So in terms of liquidity, real estate isn't so great. However, in terms of tax, in terms of leverage, in terms of long-term growth, real estate is beautiful. So that's why understand that if you're going to invest all in real estate, you're going to have some room, some savings where that investment is liquid, so that if you need it, you have access to it. Or if you invest in real estate, at least have line of credits ready and pre-approved, so that you can actually draw money out anytime you need it. So liquidity is a powerful friend when it comes to wealth building, not only because you might need it when you need it, but also when markets crash. When markets are like on the verge of going down, people like Warren Buffett, like the best of the best, they always have a chunk of money in cash, because they know when opportunity comes, they need the cash to buy. So that's why they always put a chunk of their money into cash, so that it's liquid and they can buy very quickly. Cash or something that they can liquidate very quickly. And then the fifth type of your friends when it comes to wealth building is mentorship. There's no point learning all this by yourself. And because, especially when we don't know what we don't know. And what we don't, if you consider a circle as the entire universe of knowledge, what we know is like a piece, a tiny piece of the circle. And then what we don't know is a much bigger chunk. But then what we don't know is divided into two things. What we don't know is actually divided into what we know we don't know. That's a smaller piece. It's still bigger than the what you know. But then the part that is what we don't know is way, way bigger than everything else. And that's why when it comes to wealth building, what we don't know is where we lose everything. This is where you need mentorship. If you are already in the game of wealth building, if you're not watching on the sideline and you want to get in the rink and play this game, the first thing you got to do is learn the rules of the games. And the second thing is find a great mentor to work with. And this mentor could be a businessman, could be an investor. And this business or this mentor is not the expert that you're hiring. The accountants, the lawyer, the financial advisors, those guys, they're not your mentors. Those guys, if we're going to call it for what it is, those people are professionals. But in reality, they're also salesmen, because they're selling you their service. They're doing a service for you based on what you need. And they will definitely recommend a plan that is most suitable for you. But they're not wealth builders. Oh, I want to share a story, and this is all my fault. It's not. I'm not blaming it on anyone. But I remember when I was investing a lot into private equities, into local oil and gas companies in Calgary. I know of a realtor who I recommended him to buy into the building that I was building, that I was buying, because he was renting and he was helping me close a deal. And I was telling him, why are you still renting? Why don't you buy and own your own office? The mortgage payment monthly will be cheaper than what you rent here. And eventually would you own it? And when you sell your practice, your law practice, you can sell the practice itself, but you can still keep renting the office space to the new owner of your law practice. Why don't you consider that? And so, of course, he bought it, and it was a great decision for him. And so we remained friends, and there were many things. So later on, as he was having some, we call it, what do you call it? Tips on where to invest into some local companies that are becoming IPOs, because he does IPOs for some companies. And so he gave me a few tips. And of course, me being a risk taker, and at that time, truly, I was doing so well in real estate that I had money and I wanted to invest into something else outside of real estate. And so I wanted to invest into oil and gas here in Calgary. So I put in $100,000 into this company that was about to go IPO. And you know what? To this day, 20 years, well, no, I invest that in around 2005, and now 2026, 21 years later, haven't seen haven't seen my money back yet. And I'm not counting at all on seeing it back. And the reason why I'm sharing this story is because, number one, I invested into something that I knew nothing about, which is oil and gas. So that was a gamble. That was a complete gamble move. Secondly, I trusted my lawyer, who, again, doesn't know anything about oil and gas. He is helping them going IPOs, and he does that for a few companies. He does the legal stuff for some of these companies that are about to go public. And again, I'm not blaming him at all, because this is all on me, right? I listened to him and I made a bad move. So whatever that you put your money in, make sure that you actually understand the game, understand the rule of that game. If you want to invest in real estate, learn about real estate. Read at least 1, 2, 3 books on real estate. And ideally, you want to work with a mentor who has succeeded in real estate. That is the best combination. Don't just listen. Yes, my lawyer is great at what he does, which is lawyer stuff. But for me, when I listen to him tipping me off on this company that is about to go public, that was a bad move on my part to listen to that. So that's why I want you to know that mentorship is an investment. Buy into working under the wings of someone who knows what they're doing. And you will save money and time when you invest in the right mentor. Guaranteed. Because you're going to pay the price no matter what. Either you're going to pay the price for making your own mistakes, doing it on your own with trial and error, which is guaranteed. Everybody goes through that phase. Even with a mentor, you will still have trial and error, because the mentor sometimes, well, depending on your level of support, because they cannot hold your hand forever. So you will always have to make decisions on your own sometimes. And those gives you always an opportunity to make errors and mistakes. And when it comes to investing, the mistakes are expensive. That's why ignorance is very expensive. Instead of paying for trial and error, instead of paying for 45 years of slowly growing, pay to get there in 10 years or less. Pay to get there much faster without all the headaches and the struggles of figuring things out on your own. Okay, so those are the 5 friends of wealth. Now, when it comes to tax minimization, tax strategies, of course, you have to work with someone. And depending on your financial situation, depending on which tax bracket you're in, they will give you the right advice on what type of strategies is a good fit for you. And so for me, I cannot tell you what to do. However, I do know one thing that will apply to everybody. Okay? And that is, number 1, start a business on the side so that you can save money, because there's the 7 tax hacks that everyone should know about. Now, even if you are not a business person, there are passions that you might be into, like music or art or horse riding or wine or golf, sports, anything that you are interested in. You can always start a business doing that. And there's many types of business. The business that I'm talking about has zero risk. Okay, maybe $100 risk. $100 risk, because you still need internet. You still need to get your domain name and all the stuff that you might need. But it doesn't require a lot of money. But for you to start that legal entity as a business, now you can legally write off the 7 tax hacks that I'm about to share. Okay, so the 7 tax hacks that everybody can take advantage of. If you are in North America, I'm sorry, if you're in other countries, I know that in any first world country where you pay a lot of tax to receive all the benefits, you will receive tax benefits by having a business on the side. So the 7 tax hacks includes home office expenses, auto expenses. You know, when we go out and eat, we call it we go out and eat all the time, correct? Now, instead of not being able to write it off, if you turn that into a business meetings, or if you're meeting with friends, but if you actually introduce them to an opportunity, if you actually introduce your friends to a website, to a training that actually helps them on some types of business that is related to your business, then now this is a business conversation plus friendship plus getting to know each other, connecting, reconnecting, and all that stuff. But as long as you have a piece of your conversation about some kind of business related conversation, then that qualifies as a business meal and entertainment write-off. And depending on whether you're running that as a group meeting where you're doing a presentation, then 100% of that business meal and entertainment is a write-off for you. Or if you're just meeting one-on-one or one-on-two, or just a small group of people, then now that is a 50% write-off instead of 100% write-off. But if you could take your friends to a hockey game, to a basketball game, or any kind of game, or a restaurant, now all of that becomes a write-off, because as long as you do this as a business conversation, or at least some part of it has a business element to it. And it's very easy to do that. In fact, all business deals are done either at restaurants or some kind of game. All business deals. Business deals are not done in the office. In the office is where the contracts are signed. The lawyers, cross the T's and dot the I's and stuff like that. But a business deal is actually made on the golf course, in a restaurant, in a game of some sort. That's where people get to know each other. That's how they make deals. All deals are made. That's why the government gives 50% write-off for business meals and entertainment. Okay. Now, the fourth type of tax hack is income splitting. Now, for us who pays a lot of tax, you know that you're being charged with a marginal tax level, a tax rate. A marginal tax rate is basically if you hit a certain level of income, now you go to a higher level of tax. By the way, let me just clarify. If you go to a high level of tax, you're only paying a higher tax bracket on the higher amount of income, not where the lower income is. So that for example, if your lowest tax bracket is 10%, okay, you're paying that. And then above that, now let's say it's 50%, because I don't know where you are in the world. Let's say the next tax bracket is 15%, okay? So that means you only pay the 15% on the next level of tax bracket, not on the entire income. So some people, they didn't know this, and they thought that, oh, I don't want to make more than $100,000 because above $99,999, $99, now I have to pay tax at a higher tax bracket on the entire thing. No, it doesn't work like that. Our tax is based on a marginal tax bracket. So therefore, the more income you make, the more tax you will pay, but only on the next level of tax bracket. So make as much money as you can. Don't worry about the tax because it'll take care of itself. However, there are tax strategies that you can do. So when it comes to income splitting, this is where it works great. If you have two partners, two spouses who have different level of income, or if you have children who are able to work in your business to support you, for example, taking the garbage out, vacuuming your office, opening the letters, sorting your mails, picking up the mails, and running errands for you, and God forbid, doing AI or all the technology that you might know very much less than what they do, then all of your children can be hired in your business to support you, and therefore now you can pay them, and they pay tax at a much lower rate than you. Same thing with your wife or your husband. If they are in a lower tax bracket than you, and you are paying a lot more tax, then now you can do income splitting and pay them to help you in your business, so that both of you are paying less tax now because you're in a lower tax bracket. And that's how income splitting works. And then another type of tax hack is health expenses. Normally, if we were to pay, now in Canada, we're very lucky. We get health expense covered already because that's what our tax is paying for. However, when it comes to eye exam or dental work, which is very expensive dental work, or even other work such as massage or chiropractor or physiotherapy, all of that extra cost, all of those other professionals, they're not covered by our regular healthcare plan. So therefore, or even drugs. So therefore, if you have a business, now you can actually buy a health plan that covers for all these things. And if you buy the right type of health plan, they even cover surgeries and all types of things that would be very in the gray area if it was a typical standard health plan. So if you buy a private health service plan, and that's what I'm referring to, a health spending account, a private health service plan, not the regular plan with Blue Cross or Manulife or Great West Life, all the other things, those are the normal plans under your work. But if you pay for a private health service plan, which is sometimes also called the health spending account, then now all of a sudden, anything is a write-off, including surgeries on cosmetics, including alternative medical procedures that would not have been covered under the typical regular health plan. And I'm telling you this because, again, you have to set it up properly, because all of these are deductible as from your business income. So health expenses, instead of paying before tax, now you can pay for it after tax, because you get to deduct all these expenses as part of your business expense. Okay, so health expense is expensive. If you have children who need braces, 8,000 for each mouth, or if they needed any type of I don't know if people would be considering doing cosmetic surgery on the tummy, a tummy tuck, or any types of things that would normally not be covered. But because it's a private health service plan, and because you can actually say what is covered, what is not covered, you can actually take all types of medicinal herbs or work, and now everything becomes deductible. So that's why I look into a private health service plan if that's something that you feel like you need. Okay, and then another type of tax hack is called travel expense. So instead of us taking vacations and pay it after tax, Now you can legally take a business trip and tag on a few days before or after the business trip and write off part of it. And even better, you can be part of a business retreat where the entire trip is a tax write off, because this entire time you'll be working on your business with the organizer. And the organizer could be a coach like me, because I do run business retreats. I'm starting that this year. So I would love to support you if you are looking for any kinds of business retreats, okay? Or if your accountant is running a some kind of a vacation, a business trip where he's gonna give you advice on your business setup. And if you have a corporation, you definitely will need to do the the year end the year end procedures. You might need to meet with your accountant for all these services, for all these advices, or all these decisions that you don't need to put into your corporate minutes. So therefore, all of this can be arranged so that your vacation is now a tax write-off, instead of you have to pay it for it out of your pocket before tax. I mean, after tax. Same thing with your staff. Okay. Now, if your spouse is on your payroll, if your children is on your payroll, now all of them are able to go on this business trip with you because they're part of the team. Now, when you do these kinds of things, of course, you have to make sure that if you have other types of staff and team members, they too could qualify for these kinds of trips because they are still part of your team. So, as long as you have the policies in place where you identify, are they, if only full-time employees are qualified, or part-time but with a certain level of years that they have worked with you, now they qualify for these kinds of perks. So all of these things you can put into your minute books. You can decide all these things and make it part of your policy, company policy. So take travel, business trips instead of vacations to write off all your trips, okay? And then last but not least, you know how every year, this is the seventh tax hack, by the way, you know how every year we have birthday parties, newborn parties, anniversary parties, wedding parties, graduation parties, and all types of parties that you're invited to, correct? Now, if you had a business, and if at these kinds of gatherings, these kinds of wonderful occasion to celebrate, if you have any kinds of gifts to give away, not only to the person who invited you, but also to the people who are attending, like a pen that is engraved with your business logo, your website, or a book, a journal book with your company's name and information on it. So if you were to give these kinds of gifts at any occasions, now all of this expense, even including the wedding gift, including the birthday gift, all of that becomes a sponsorship or an advertising, a promotion, marketing expense for your business. So instead of, and I don't know about you, but a wedding is expensive. Typically, a couple goes to a wedding, it's already 500 for the gift, right? So instead of making that 500 as a just a regular gift, now you can do so much more, and all of that becomes a write-off for your business. And so that's why tax strategies, and this is just the tips of the iceberg when it comes to starting a business. I need you to speak with a tax advisor to take advantage of more tax strategies that are more specific to your finance situation. And then the last thing that I want to cover is asset and income protection. And this part is actually, usually I do this with guest experts. So I definitely will bring them in eventually. But for now, let me just share a few things that you need to understand. And that is, it doesn't matter how much you make. It only matters how much you keep and how much of that is growing and it's being protected from market crash, from management fees, from risks, from everything that is the 5 enemies that I mentioned earlier. The rich does not get rich by making a lot of money. The real rich people, and there's a book on it called The Millionaire Next Door. The real rich people, they make money by investing consistently month after month, starting early on, into the right type of vehicle that is a good, suitable for them. And just like the 5 friends and the 5 enemies of wealth, they use all of those. Okay? So now, the rich, when it comes to assets, people get rich not by making money and leaving money in the bank account. That money, if it doesn't grow, if it does not build an asset, that money is useless. I'm going to share with you real life stories. And I'm sure you know this, but in my own life, even though I was only 11 years old when I left Vietnam because of the war, we were considered boat people. My parents worked for the South government. So therefore we were blacklisted. We had no hope of staying there and having even like a mediocre life. Okay. So that's why we had to leave. But so being a boat people, there was a lot of risk for sure. But even before that, when the new government comes in, the North Vietnam come in, they took all of the money and they basically said this money is now useless. So they basically changed money. So all the people who were super rich, now they take all that money and they decide that that money is now no longer the currency of what's working now. And they printed new money. And so all the rich people, and when they printed the new money, they gave everyone the same amount. We call it the, what do you call when parents give the children money every month? Oh, I just can't remember the name because I don't do this for my kids, but it's allowance. Yes, allowance. So the government gave each family the same amount of money. I forgot if it was 500 or 5,000, but it was everybody, each family of 4 or whatever, and they counted per head, per person of the family, of the member of the family. So each person gets, let's say, $500. And so a family of 5 would get 2,500. Okay. So overnight, the money that they had, millions of dollars that they had, became nothing because the government switched money. Okay. Now this happened to many other countries. Zimbabwe, the same thing. Or the inflation went up so high that their money is worth nothing. So that happens. So that's why the rich does not keep their money in cash. The rich always buys assets. Now, there's different types of assets. And I don't have enough time to share all the different types of assets today. We can continue that conversation next week. But the rich buys assets and builds assets. They don't leave their money in cash. That's the first thing you need to know. The second thing is the rich always have some kind of protection for their money where it is not uh, at the mercy of the market going up or down. So that requires some serious planning with your financial advisor or with your wealth advisor. Okay, so that this becomes a conversation that you need to have one on one with those experts. And I definitely have a lot of experience in this. I also work with a lot of lawyers and accountants who specialize in this. And so it depends. It depends on your financial situation to do what is best for you. So this is a private one on one conversation. But there is one thing that I know that all of us needs. And this is only if you have dependents. All of us who have dependents, whether our dependents is our children under 18 where they cannot take care of themselves yet, or if it's our spouse who is at home taking care of our kids and are not working. The dependents that you have are depending on your income. So if you are the type that actually cares what happens to them if something happens to you and you're no longer able to provide the income that is needed for the lifestyle that you currently have, then you need to do some planning. And you know what? Who am I to preach about that? I'm not saying this is something you have to do, but I would ask if you have ever considered that, because a lot of people have never thought that they would die soon, that they would die unplanned, that they would die in an accident when they have nothing left over for the dependents. And that's the reason why life insurance is important if you have dependents. Consider it the biggest gift that you can give your loved ones, your dependents, because that is peace of mind for you and also for them. And I know for a fact, because from personal experience, when I was going through all of my ups and downs, because I had insurance for my family, even though my husband can easily take care of himself and my children, I'm not worried that he cannot provide a great lifestyle for them. Not about that at all. But because I have 26 rental properties, I had all these projects and investments that I was putting myself in. If something happens to me, I wanted all those things paid off. And that's the reason why. And I don't want my husband to have any headaches. So that's the reason why I bought a huge life insurance policy. It was for my own peace of mind, knowing that no matter what happens to me, and I know he doesn't need all these things, but at least it will give him the option to stop working if he chooses to. It will give him the option to take a few years off, to grieve, or to do whatever he wants. And that's the reason why I buy insurance. And now, if you are considering buying insurance, please read into what kind of insurance you need, because there's a ton of people out there who takes a 2 months course and now they sell insurance, and they will sell you the wrong type of insurance because that's all they can sell you. So before you consider doing what's right for your family, now you need to understand the rules of the game and buy the right type of insurance for you, for them. Because otherwise, again, what could have been a great decision now becomes a bad decision because you bought the wrong type of insurance. So please consider hiring the right type of advisors to give you the right information in the first place. Because most insurance plans out there, most insurance agents is what we call salesmen, which is true because they sell what they can sell you, and they will not be able to sell you what is the best solution for you if they don't have that as a solution, as a product that they can sell for you. So, therefore, learn, spend some time investing in the right type of education that makes it the right type of insurance for you. And that requires you to take responsibility and understand the rules of the game. Thank goodness I just got disconnected, and I saw that. So that's why now I'm back. But you know what? This is a great place where where we can pause, and we'll continue this conversation next week, part three. Okay? Have a great evening, and I'll see you next Monday. Have a great one. Thank you so much for. Um, Actually, I want to say this today because I know that this is a long talk, an hour or even more a day that I'm doing. And I'm doing it because I know that for some people, this information could protect their wealth. This information could help them grow their wealth. And either way, I'm grateful that I'm able to do that or to be part of of your life, to urge you to do something for your family. So I'm very grateful that you give me the opportunity, the most precious thing, which is your time. And but please do not just listen to me and do what I say. Please research and talk to an advisor so that they can actually help you design the perfect plan, the right plan for your own personalized situation. And I'm grateful that I can share the general knowledge so that you can take the next step and do the right thing for yourself and for your family. So good night, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.